In the hum of the dryer, between a knock and a wink on a summer afternoon. Last weekend, I was invited to my friend's house for a poolside birthday celebration. I'm a 45-year-old guy, and the guests included my friend's family and a few close friends. The sun was warm, laughter floated through the air, and the smell of barbecue lingered near the patio. Everyone was in the pool, enjoying themselves, splashing around, chatting, and relaxing. As the afternoon wore on, I lost track of time. I must have been in the water for hours. Eventually, I started feeling that familiar, insistent urge. I needed to pee. Really needed to pee. With most of the bathrooms occupied by kids getting ready or guests freshening up, I headed inside to ask for help. In the kitchen, I found the host, my friend and the birthday boy's husband, standing by the counter, chopping tomatoes for the salad. He was a friendly, laid-back guy in his mid-30s, and he looked up as I came in. "Hey," I said, shifting uncomfortably. "Is there an available bathroom? I've been swimming forever, and I could really use one. Most of the other ones seem taken." He paused, then motioned up the stairs. "Yeah, go ahead, use the master bathroom upstairs. No one's in there right now." "Thanks," I said, relieved, and headed toward the stairs. I climbed the steps quietly, mentally mapping out the bathroom location. As I rounded the final corner, I heard the unmistakable hum of a blow-dryer. I slowed down and paused at the doorway to the master suite, surprised by the sound. Then I saw her, the hostess, my friend's wife, 32 years old, graceful, poised, standing at the vanity. She'd changed out of her swimsuit into a casual summer skirt and was drying her hair. I froze for a moment. She was topless, hair damp, focused on her reflection. But she didn't scream or cover herself. Instead, she looked over at me, made eye contact, and I could see surprise, but no embarrassment. I quietly mouthed the word bathroom, pointing toward the door. She paused, then nodded gently and stepped aside, motioning me forward. My heart fluttered, not from attraction or expectation, but from the acute awareness of entering such an intimate moment. It felt oddly intimate, a brief, unexpected connection. I said a quiet, "Thanks," and casually slipped past her toward the door. Inside the bathroom, I closed the door, locked it, and took care of business. All the while, I could still hear the blow-dryer whirring through the walls, its rhythmic white noise oddly comforting, grounding me back in reality. It took a few moments. As I washed my hands, I wondered, should I wait for her to finish? She had no top on, it might be awkward to emerge into the room again immediately. I stepped out of the bathroom slowly and listened. The sound of the dryer wasn't going to stop in a second, it sounded like she was in no hurry, and I didn't want to make her feel awkward. A few minutes passed. I leaned against the wall outside the bathroom, gathering my thoughts. Maybe it'd be even weirder to stay there indefinitely. If I walked out now, apologized, and acted like it was no big deal, maybe that was best. So I opened the door quietly and stepped out into the master suite. She was still standing by the vanity, brushing out her long hair, a serene expression on her face. She looked at me and flashed a knowing smile, an understanding, playful gesture that instantly put me at ease. I offered a soft apology, "Sorry for barging in." She winked, the blow-dryer still in one hand, and brushed a lock of hair behind her ear. "No problem at all," she said casually. "Bathroom's all yours." I smiled back, relieved by her calm and kindness. "Thanks," I said, then stepped aside to allow her space. She resumed drying her hair, and I drifted back down the stairs. Back in the kitchen, my friend looked up and chuckled. "Took you long enough," he said with a grin, teasing me as he lifted a ladle from the soup pot he'd prepared. I shrugged, nodded toward the stairs, and said quietly, "Master was in use." He laughed, then gave me a curious look, and I shrugged again, not sure how much to say. He moved to touch my arm reassuringly and guided me back outside. The rest of the party carried on without incident. The kids splashed around, the birthday girl blew out her candles, and the adults chatted over drinks. Occasionally, I found myself glancing upstairs, wondering if she'd finished drying her hair, if she'd already put her top back on. But those thoughts were fleeting. The day continued in its easy rhythm, friends laughing, food being passed around, sun shimmering on the water. Later in the evening, as the party wound down and people began to leave, I made my way upstairs again, this time to gather some things I'd forgotten. I paused outside the master suite, feeling a flash of hesitation. Should I knock? Would she still be drying her hair? I knocked gently. A moment later, the door opened, and there she stood, cleaned up, now fully dressed in a light blouse and skirt. She smiled warmly at me. "Hey, "You forgot your phone charger in the living room," she said, stepping aside. I thanked her. We exchanged another brief smile, one of mutual comfort, an unspoken acknowledgement of the earlier awkward moment that had passed without incident. "Thanks for being cool," I said softly. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "Of course. No big deal." Then she closed the door. I descended the stairs feeling oddly light, not embarrassed, not ashamed, just at ease. I rejoined the group and enjoyed the last half hour of festivities, feeling grateful for hosts who handled the awkward grace of everyday life with such dignity and ease. Looking back, that fleeting doorway encounter stands out as the surprise spark in an otherwise ordinary celebration. It was human, slightly out of sync with social expectations, but gentle, respectful, and normal. It reminded me that life isn't all well-rehearsed choreography, sometimes it's improvisation, an unplanned pause that breaks the routine. In that quiet doorway, we were both momentarily exposed, figuratively and literally. And yet there was no panic, no outrage, no intrusion. We recognized each other's presence, communicated needs and boundaries without fanfare, and moved on. There was no discomfort, only a fleeting hint of connection. What struck me most was her composure. She didn't fumble for words or hide, she met the moment with calm kindness. Her wink wasn't flirtation, it was reassurance, a signal that she saw me, appreciated the situation, and everything was fine. Her quiet confidence settled me in a way that no apology could. And the husband? Well, he never knew the details, of course. He simply saw me return with a smile. I think in the end what matters isn't the nudity or the tension, it's the humanity behind it. We all need to pee after a few hours in the pool. We all find ourselves in moments that don't show up in Instagram stories. How we handle those moments, that's what counts. By the time I left, the sun had dipped low. The sky turned a soft, gentle pink, and the pool reflected that late evening glow. I said goodbye to the couple, thanked them once more, and stepped into the cool evening air with a sense of warmth. Not just from the party, but from the kindness that happens when people treat each other like people, not performances. I drove home with a full belly, a light heart, and a story I'd file under unexpected kindness. It ran maybe 3 minutes between entering the house and walking past that mirror, but those minutes reminded me that the difference between awkwardness and comfort often comes down to a few simple choices: respect, composure, grace. That's what the weekend gave me. A family's birthday celebration. A stranger's calm in an awkward moment. A memory I'll tap in the future when I'm nervous or caught off guard. Lean into kindness. Smile. And let life's improv take its course. Stepping back into the warm hum of the house felt like crossing an invisible boundary. The distant laughter drifting in from the patio contrasted with the soft mechanical whir of the blow-dryer upstairs. I took a moment on the landing, strained to listen. No one stirred downstairs yet, so I had time to choose my next steps. I headed back toward the living room, but my thoughts kept latching onto her. The hostess, calmly drying her hair in her own master suite. The memory of her serene smile. There was something arresting about her composure, a quiet confidence, grounded in comfort with herself. That wink had spoken volumes, reassurance, mutual ease, maybe even a hint of shared humor about the whole thing. Back in the kitchen, my friend was handing out fresh drinks and joking with another guest. Unable to banish the upstairs image, I leaned against the counter and let the air conditioning do its soft hum. The tang of citrus from his drink cut through summer scents of chlorine and grass. It felt grounding, familiar, but an undercurrent of that upstairs moment lingered around me. I joined the others outside. The late afternoon sun, warm and mellow, made the pool glitter. Kids were diving, couples lounging, the birthday family smiling at photos displayed on a folding table. I tried to slip back into the party's flow, but a slight buoyancy lingered in my step, like walking on air after an unexpected moment of human connection. Over the next hour, conversations popped and drifted. A neighbor complimented the grill master. My friend's mother recounted a childhood birthday memory. I watched people socialize, sensing how easily everyone moved in and out of comfort zones. It made me appreciate what had happened upstairs, a tiny moment of grace in an ordinary setting. As the sun plummeted behind trees, the party wound down. Plates were gathered, chairs stacked. I realized I'd forgotten my charger upstairs. It felt like a perfect closing bookend, an excuse to return to that threshold, to close the lingering gap. I climbed the stairs slowly, aware of amplified creaks in the silence. I gave the door a polite rap. Footsteps shuffled behind. When the door opened, she stood there, now fully dressed in a light, soft blouse and comfortable skirt. Her hair was brushed, maybe still warm to the touch from the dryer. The motion felt gentle, homey. "Hey," I said, the lights from the corridor softening her features. I forgot my charger. She stepped aside, fingers brushing the door frame. She watched me for a moment, a thoughtful look in her eyes. I realized it wasn't simply politeness, it was the calm focus of someone who didn't feel rushed by social rituals. She could wait. Nothing urgent hung in the air. I smiled. Thanks. She offered a warm nod. No problem at all. A subtle confidence in her tone, not forced, not uneasy. I retrieved the charger and our fingers brushed for a heartbeat. A shared physical echo of what had unfolded hours before. We both paused, as if measuring whether to say more. Instead, she closed the door quietly, and I descended. The house felt different now. Not just quieter, but more intimate. The blueprint of that unexpected moment had shifted the atmosphere. Back downstairs, the final guests were hugging, saying goodbyes. My friend gave me a friendly nod, a sign that the leftover awkwardness upstairs had passed unspoken. I gathered my things, thanked them for hosting once more. On the drive home, dusk had given way to night. The car's interior light illuminated my face in the dark, and I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. For a brief moment, I thought of that doorway, the blowdryer's soft drone, the unfazed composure, the wink that said more than words. Scenes from the night intertwined in my mind, children's laughter, the bouquet of summer aromas, the sky's deepening palette, that intimate threshold moment. Each became a microcosm of human presence, bare, unguarded, but full of respect and empathy. Next day, I woke with the quiet buzz of that moment still in me. I found myself reflecting on small details, the pattern of her skirt, how the mirror reflected her back. The hush of the dryer, the stillness of the master suite mid-afternoon. It made me realize something, that intimacy isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's a gentle recognition of shared humanity. It doesn't always require big gestures or declarations. It can come in quiet pauses, in the comfort of boundaries honored without fanfare. I thought about the writing advice I've picked up over time, how intimate scenes are often less about what occurs and more about what those moments reveal. They're not built only from physical exposure, but emotional nuance. The small gestures matter, eye contact, body language, unspoken permission. That wink, a door opened, a step aside, all formed a layered moment, a brief but intimate connection wrapped in respect. That realization stayed with me when I returned to work. Surfaces and floors glimmered under fluorescent lights, emails came in, phones buzzed. Yet my mind wandered back to a quiet upstairs bathroom, to nasal warmth and shared space. To the notion that sometimes the most significant connections happen when we least expect them, and don't even realize they have. It's not romance or flirtation, I'm married, she's married, but that brief encounter contained all the emotional beats of intimacy, vulnerability, mutual recognition, nervous humor, nonverbal consent. It had tension, the brief pause at the open door, release, she stepped aside, a wink, and the aftermath that reshaped my feeling of the evening. Writers often seek those moments, understated, human, resonant. Scenes that don't shout but wash over you, leaving a sense of quiet warmth and the deep knowledge that we share space, time, and occasional glimpses of each other's softer edges. That evening, simple needs, urine, hair drying, became conduits for something more, the kind of respect that says I see you. Your comfort and mine both matter. In life, tiny moments like these don't make headlines, but they shape how we feel. They build trust in how we treat strangers, guests, hosts. At the party, no one cared that she was momentarily unclothed, we cared that we weren't making it a thing. That's grace. At its core, this isn't a story about impropriety, it's about the power of presence. The hosts didn't freak out. They didn't shame one another. Nobody closed the door abruptly or whispered apologies. We acted with calm, gentle awareness, and it made all the difference. If you were to write this as a fiction piece, it's those quiet emotional beats, her composure, my hesitation, the nonverbal communication, that give meaning. It's not titillation or intrigue. It's candor. It's humanity. It's showing up. By the time I left, the streetlights were glowing and the air had cooled. I paused in my driveway, headlights illuminating hundreds of dust motes in the air. For a moment, I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, fresh night air mixed with distant lawnmower hum and a sprinkling of lingering summer heat. Later, I would tell my partner about the party's fun, the grilling, the cake, the pool. But I wouldn't mention the doorway moment. It belonged to a different kind of story, the one made of unspoken respect and shared comfort. Still, I carried it with me, not as a secret, but as a quiet lesson. Life isn't always about the big gestures. Sometimes it's about whether we can be calm in shared vulnerability. Whether we can make space, and respect it. That's what stayed with me that Saturday evening. Not a scandal, not a spark. Just a moment. A fraction of time in which two people recognized each other, fully clothed or not, and the world felt a little more human for it. Step by step, I made my way down the familiar hallway, feeling oddly attentive to each floorboard's creak. The house was quiet now, the party long since dispersed upstairs. Through the wood-paneled corridor, I sensed the shift in energy, the way the air had settled, holding the faint echo of human presence and possibility. I hesitated outside the guest room door. I'd almost forgotten why I'd come upstairs in the first place. But it wasn't just about the charger anymore. It was the lingering sense that something gentle and unspoken had passed between us that afternoon. It felt necessary, like drawing the breath after a long pause. I knocked softly. "Come in," her voice called, an invitation quiet as dusk. I opened the door. She stood by the dresser, hair brushed down and blouse lightly draped, her posture loose and unguarded. The afternoon's composure had rippled into something softer, more reflective. It felt suddenly intimate, less about the dryer and more about an unspoken emotional presence. She turned and offered that same warm nod. "Hey," I said, stepping in, almost self-consciously. The charger lay atop a neatly folded towel. Something in the domestic calm of the room pulled me to pause. "Here," she angled it toward me, fingers brushing mine. The touch was fleeting, a whisper of connection, and my chest tightened in response. My breath caught, awareness sharpening. The gestures felt small but significant. I tucked the charger in my bag. "Thanks," I managed. I wanted to add more, something like "thank you for this afternoon," but I faltered. Words felt clumsy in that space. She tilted her head. A slow, teased smile played on her lips. "You are welcome." There was ease in the tone, no teasing, no shame, just sincerity. It was like the afternoon reenacted through tone rather than gesture, each nuance deeper now. Silence stretched, not awkward, but expectant. I noticed the soft hum of the air conditioning filter, the faint tick of a clock somewhere down the hall. Those mundane touches grounded the moment, but also framed it, making this emotional undercurrent sharper. My eyes drifted to the windowsill, where a few drops of condensation clung to the glass, minute reflections of past humidity. I remembered the dryer's drone, the warmth of afternoon air, the reflection of her unclothed back in the mirror. That doorway scene felt truer now than it had then, an unexpected doorway in more ways than one. I met her gaze again. "It was nice of you," I said, suddenly aware of my own heartbeat. "Earlier." A flicker of something passed her eyes. Was it warmth? Understanding? Empathy? She nodded, subtly. "It was fine," she replied, quietly. No undercutting, no justification, just permission to let it rest there, comfortable. The moment hovered. I thought of leaving, but then I didn't. I instead looked at her, the serenity in her posture, how her fingers clasped lightly around the charger. I realized something about presence, that being seen, truly seen, was more intimate than any grand gesture. I swallowed. "I appreciate how calm you were." She gave that small, serene smile. "We all need a moment sometimes." It wasn't an apology for anything, but an acknowledgement, a balm to the interior knot that had been in my chest. I felt calmer. I leaned against the doorframe. "Sorry again for the intrusion." My tone softened. I didn't want it to feel awkward." Her voice lowered, carrying an undercurrent of genuine reassurance. "It wasn't." There it was, the emotional payoff, permission to breathe, to let a moment of shared discomfort settle back into something warm and quiet. There was no sweep of romantic flourish, no dramatic crescendo, just a moment of empathy that said we both understood. That was the note worth holding on to. I nodded, feeling a release, a gentle uncoiling of tension. "Thanks," I whispered. She returned the thanks with another smile. The soft light from the window edged her silhouette in late evening gold. It felt like a painting uncurling in silence. I turned to leave. At the door, I paused. Part of me wanted to say something more, to capture the delicate line between gratitude and something deeper. But she didn't need a confession. She'd heard it. That was enough. I stepped out. The door clicked softly behind me. In the hallway, I stood for a long breath, letting the air clear. Downstairs, the living room was empty now. Just the slight levee of dishes and stray cups, traces of the gathering. I gathered my bag and coat, noticing a peacefulness in the bare furnishings, like the house was resetting itself. Before I left, I lingered by the front window. The last streetlights glimmered outside. For a moment, I saw our silhouettes in the glass, overlapping, separate. A brief resonance from an unconstructed moment. I thought of sensory details, her hair scent, warm and soft, the hum that perforated the air, the glow around her skin. Those details had become talismans of quiet connection, small, but holding weight. I realized the night held something gentle, not nostalgia, but recognition. That small interlude wasn't a turning point of drama, it was a quiet acknowledgement of humanity. It wasn't romance, but it was close, mutual ease, respect, a moment of trust. As I left, I carried that with me, a subtle reminder of empathy in unexpected spaces, the power of calm, the resonance of small gestures. Outside, the night air was cool and scented with grass and the coming rain. I inhaled deeply, lifting one shoulder in a silent release, and headed to my car, lighter than when I'd arrived.